elephants and frogs over here. Okay. So if you have a score which is less than say 20, you're more like an adapter. You produce fewer ideas, but expect many of them to succeed. So you play by the rules. You do not bring about huge big changes. You adapt little by little. And if you score more than 20, let us say you are like an innovator. And there's nothing wrong in either of the two things. You expect many, you generate many ideas, but you yourself do not expect many to succeed. You just expect a few of them to succeed. So finally, an adapter and a frog may have only 2 or 3 ideas which are good enough, both of them. But the total cache of ideas that an adapter would come up with may be 5, whereas an innovator may come up with 10 ideas. So with frog, you would be like hopping from one idea to another, to third, to fourth, to fifth, and so on. Of these, just a few will work. Elephant strategy, okay, this is the problem I am facing. Oh, I can go a little this way. There must be a solution somewhere here. This is the lowest cost solution that I'm talking about. Or let me go a little that way, and there could be a solution over there. And that is another solution that I'm talking about. Slow, steady, but ideas which will be good solutions, which will be solutions there. Innovator, lots of ideas, hopping from one thing to another, in fact, distracting the whole group also. And knowing fully well that, oh, a few ideas are trash, not even bothered about them. But unless I generate trash, how will I come up with good ideas? So they generate lots of ideas.
Sir, are these scores like trustworthy? How do you know? Like, do they actually like represent the real picture?
Yeah,
Because
it
I think
represents
this
the picture that
creativity
you
is
gave.
situational, no? Because creativity is situational. Like one person might be very much adaptive in his say professional life, but say when it comes to one of his hobbies, then he's a very big great innovator.
Yeah.
So,
See, that is why you may want to fill this assessment 5 times for 5 different kind of settings that you want to assess yourself in.
okay, so basically field dependent.
Any
What's the
assessment,
questions for?
even the ones that were sent to you yesterday, you can choose to respond in different manners and you will get different results. They are not intelligent assessments. They are simply some scales that have been built based on experience and empirical evidence.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a doubt. Sir, how is this cutoff decided that above 20 it is innovator and below 20 it is?
So easy. And there were 8 questions. And minimum score was 1, maximum was 4. So what is the minimum score that you could get? 8. Maximum you could get 32. And right in the center we said 20.
Okay.
Nothing else. No rocket science there. What this also means is that if you were at around 20, in a very high probability, in some settings you will be like an adapter. And in many settings you will be like an innovator. But if you are at say 29, then to be an adapter is very difficult for you. You will feel constrained and constricted when someone expects you to be an adapter. And if you are at say 9 or 10, you will feel very uncomfortable probably working with a person who's just hopping from one idea to another. You will say, yes, slow down, please. Let us look at any idea in detail first. Has it happened with you? Those who are on the extremes?
Yes.
Yeah. So why, see, all these assessments, they're not to label you anything. Please don't consider these as labels. Oh, I'm an elephant, I'm a frog. No. Take them as fun activities only for now. But more important than fun component over here is to bring to your awareness that there are different kinds of people. And there is no right and no wrong when you talk about creativity. There are innovators and there are adapters, and both are good. Both come up with good solutions. Adapters come up with lesser ideas, and from those lesser ideas, you expect many of them to succeed. So the efficiency would be very high. Innovators would come up with lots of ideas in the brainstorm, so they could actually be a storehouse of ideas, and you don't even know, they could come up with something so tangential which could be a breakthrough discovery. So that could also happen. So just be aware, so that when you are in a group, working as a group on some project or something, you accept other people as they are. In any team, you need both adapters and innovators. Are you able to see this? So don't consider these as labels. Definitely not. How can a human being be bound in just 8 to 32 point scale and said labeled as adapter or an innovator? That's not the intent. The entire intent is just to give you an experience and awareness that there will be different kinds of people who you will work with, and you should learn that, okay, you have to work with them, adjust with them. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Now, for those of you who could do the assessment on that, you must have received this kind of a scale there.
Yes, sir, in the first place.
Yeah, and there must also be a score there. So you don't need to tell me that score.
Okay.
That's not required to be shared. But what is important is that all of us review these different dimensions again. And you can see what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses and how you would want to work on those weaknesses. In this course, we will have lots of tools which will help you develop these different dimensions. Okay. Now, I will not go for every tool. Okay, this tool helps you develop this dimension. This tool helps you develop this dimension. We will not look at it like that. But if you are aware of what are your weaknesses and what are your strengths, you will know which tools you can use more often so that your this particular weakness is taken care of. Okay. So what do you mean by the term abstraction? You must have received a detailed description of this. So what do you mean by abstraction?
Something which is not very structured.
Okay.
So knowing knowing what to give an input and what is the output without knowing the inner details of how it's working.
Or hiding away the details.
Able to see things from
Seeing
a
the bigger
Different
broader
perspectives.
aspect, from a far away
Yeah.
point of view.
Yes. The
Complementary.
capability to look at things from different depths of understanding. See, we looked at this when we were talking about TRIZ in lecture 2. We talked about how different levels of abstraction exist within the TRIZ framework. One level of abstraction is technical contradiction, where you simply look at the symptomatic behavior of the problem and look at inventive principles which could solve them. Another level is physical contradictions, where you go into more detail, look at the function model, and you see what is happening, and you do something about it. Third, we said is substance field diagram, and we said that is a higher level of abstraction, and there are just 76 ways you could formulate a problem there. So the abstraction means how much in detail or how much in distance can I observe the same problem? How easily or difficult it is for me to change the level of abstraction for the problem that I am trying to solve. Okay. What do you mean by connection?
Having the ability to link two ideas together.
To link ideas which are
Ideas, how do you connect them?
seemingly unconnected ideas, if you can connect them, something
Yes.
that seems absolutely vague.
Yes. So do you remember which question in the assessment could have helped them assess this rating for you?
So
Yes,
there were a bunch of words
So
that
there
were
were, yeah,
So
associated.
there was
bunch
MS
of
type
questions
question.
there.
So yeah,
Hmm?
there was a question: how would you link
There was
cushion
this
and table like that?
Camera and
there
submarine
was
and so many
something
things.
about a
Camera and submarine.
radio and knife as well.
Yeah.
Radio and knife was a good one.
Yeah. है ना? So how can you connect seemingly disparate ideas and find some relevance there? That is connection. Okay, perspective. What do you mean by perspective?
Try to see it from another person or another point of view, basically.
And so
Yeah.
on the flip side as well, I think the ability to make
Yeah.
other person see your side of perspective.
Yeah. The ability to make other person see your side of the story is not as much as the skill over here. When we say perspective in this particular chart, we're looking at how easily are you able to step into someone else's shoes. How easily are you able to think like someone else? Okay, curiosity. This is simple. This is English.
Willingness to know new things.
Yeah, willingness to know. Not assuming something. Questioning. Why this? Boldness.
A risk taker, someone
Risk taker.
go ahead
Not
of
worried
their
about
way.
what others are thinking. Not having this fear of ridicule in oneself. Therefore, able to take bold decisions. Think of bold ideas, tangentially different ideas. Paradox.
To see two things which might not seem to be linked together, but we can and see them together.
So we've seen paradoxes. In the TRIS session also, we looked at paradoxes. What were the paradoxes we saw there?
The various contradictions, like
Various
the syrup.
contradictions. Yeah, for
Yeah.
example, Nina wanted to pour that syrup. So the syrup has to be hot so that it pours quickly, but it has to be cold so that it does not spoil the
Melt
chocolate.
the chocolate. Yeah.
These are contradictions. And how easily and comfortably do you handle these contradictions? That is what is referred to by this axis. And as you must have already sensed, all these contradiction matrix in a way are a tool to help you improve your paradox score. Complexity.
Ability to work on like difficult problems which are like hard to perceive for someone.
And so I think also like juggle multiple problems at the same time. And
Yes. So if there is a complex situation in front of you, how easy or difficult is it for you to navigate through it? There are a few PhD students over here. For you, handling complexity is extremely important. Handling paradoxes is extremely important. And anyways, for every one of us, it is important. But for PhD students, it is actually the case, because that is where the problem is. The problem is in complexity. The problem is in paradoxes. The problem is in contradictions. And you use all the dimensions, abstraction, perspective, connection, and other things to be able to solve those problems. Okay. So how can you break down a complex, bigger problem into smaller ones, which are easy to handle? How do you handle complexity? And interest, as you already discussed, we will look at various tools to break down. In fact, we will probably look at one tool today itself. Then, what do you mean by persistence? This is simple, but what does it mean?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Keep going. Because you may not get good ideas in one. Suppose you sat for first brainstorm with your team. You have a problem at hand. You sat for the first brainstorm. You spent half an hour. Ideas came. You evaluated those ideas after the brainstorm, and you felt, "Yaar, maza nahi aaya." Then don't drop. Don't drop. Go for the next brainstorm. Go for the third brainstorm. Persist until you find something that works for you. You know that Edison, before he got the right light bulb, it is said he experimented with 1,000 materials before he finally arrived at the right material for the filament. So he was persistent. 1,000 failures happened, but even then he was at it. It is one of the very important traits of creative people. Any questions?
Could you
Those of
explain
you who have not
paradox
done
once
this,
more?
those of you who have not done this assessment yet, I would strongly recommend that you do it. It's not a test actually. You have a test likha hua hai. It's not a test. It's an assessment. It is just to understand where are you. Okay. It is not even, again, don't consider whatever score you get as a label on you. Please do not do that. Do not do this mistake. How can a question, a set of 20 questions tell that you are this or you are that? It cannot do that. These are just pointers. Use them as props. Use them as support systems. Do not bound yourself by whatever this tool tells you. Okay. Yes. Sorry, Soumyadev, you were saying something.
Okay, yeah, I was saying, could you please explain paradox once more?
Paradox. Okay. So paradox means that, oh, I want this thing to be like this, but I want this thing to be like that also. Has it happened with you? Oh, this works when it is small, but this, I need it to be big. Has it happened?
Currently, I'm not getting any.
Okay. I want, so let us say that you are a computer engineer.
Yes, sir.
Suppose you are writing a code. You want the code to be fast.
Yeah.
But when you write a code which is very, very fast, it may require larger RAM.
Yeah.
Now you want a code to be fast, but using smaller RAM.
Smaller. Yeah. Okay.
So you want fast also, but smaller RAM also.
Something like that bicycle chain that we want strength and flexibility.
Exactly. So these are all paradoxes. And many times it is these paradoxes that prevent us from coming to the most appropriate answer. Na? Therefore, we simply optimize, stopgap arrangements we do. But inventive people or creative people are able to handle paradoxes in an inventive way. They use the inventive principles that we talked about in TRIZ, and they would be able to handle them better. Does that answer your question, Samadi?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else? Great. So now we come to the other test. So the other test again gave you some label. So what was your label out of these 8?
Adventurer.
Adventurer. Yeah, you can just, those who are not comfortable to speak, you can just write down in the chat window also. So adventurer. What else? Who else?
Mine also adventurer.
Dreamer, innovator,
It's a
visionary.
dreamer.
Yeah, different kinds of creative people, different kinds of creativity types. Again, this is not to say one is better than the other. No one is better, no one is worse. They are just different types of creativity that we exhibit. In a different setting, we may exhibit a different kind of behavior also. And in different teams, you would need different kinds of creative people. सारे के सारे maker हो जाएंगे तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगा. If everyone is a dreamer, again, it's a mistake. So that is why it is important to work in teams when you're talking about solving big problems. Now, PhD students do not have that luxury, so we will use tools like TRIZ to break down, to still become an adventurer while I am a dreamer, or still become a visionary while I am a thinker, and so on. So there are tools to help us jump from one way of thinking to another. But at least you know what is your comfort type. Again, don't use it as a label. These are just to bring it to your awareness. These are different researchers who have researched on creativity and created these assessment tools. The intent not being to label you, the intent being to make you more aware of these. That okay, in your team, you can have different kinds of people, and that's fine. You should be able to work with all kinds of creative people. Okay? Any questions?
Sir, isn't this statement just meant to give a solace to people? Because if you think deeply, then in somewhere in our heart, everyone wants to become a visionary, and a person who thinks out of the box, who takes risks, be a creative person. So if suppose he gives such an assessment and he gets a label of say a person who is adapter, then maybe this
So
kind of statements is just meant to give a solace to them that no, this does not actually mean anything.
I don't know, Saurabh. I really do not know, because uh, those who got their label as artist, possibly they would rather want to be called as an artist than a visionary.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like maybe we want to be something else and we got
No,
something else.
उनको artist ही label करा गया and they are happy being an artist. They don't want to become a visionary.
Um,
That is what I'm
maybe
saying.
for some.
You probably want to become a visionary and you realize you are an adventurer. So you may be saying, oh, Anuj is giving us solace that, oh, though you wanted to be a visionary, you are an adventurer. No. I'm not trying to give you any solace. I'm actually telling you there are these 8 kind of people and they're all good. Can you say that, can you compare an apple with a mango and say apple is good or mango is good? Now, you may like a mango more. That's a different thing. But does that reduce the value of an apple?
No, but like when it comes to like being creative or being someone who does a repetitive job, like being in a computer science field, like nowadays we know that repetitive tasks are getting replaced mostly by AI and those setups. So mostly people are saying that now what later people will be doing is more of the creative jobs.
Yeah.
People will be doing. So
creative jobs can be different kinds. For example, when we talk of maker, someone, so amongst us, you know about Tweak Labs? They're coming on Shark Tank India next week. You know about that? You know about them?
yeah, I'm not
Yes,
watching
sir.
Shark Tank.
Huh? So they're coming on Shark Tank India next week. They are makers, many of them. Visionary is easy to understand. For many of you, adventurers, people like Samantak who work on, deep math questions, solving problems, thinking. They are thinkers. They don't want to be visionaries.
And also, I think that each of these 8 category people, every single person will be dependent on another type of person
Yes.
to produce the idea which they have thought of, and and they cannot make it. Like a maker cannot think of the, maybe not able to think the idea, but the visionary can think the idea. So a maker and a visionary as a pair would make a like a dream team.
Yeah.
So like I think they are
See,
codependent on each
एक
other.
एक idea आया, a visionary is so the thinker came up with the idea, or the dreamer came up with the idea, and the visionary is giving it a vision that okay, we can scale it up into a $1 billion business, and both are important.
So are these
We may like an apple more than an orange, or we may like a mango more than an apple. That is our choice. But that doesn't mean that an apple is not important or orange is not important.
Yes, exactly. So I'm not talking exactly about these 8 labels. Like I'm talking about like all these assessments that give us like some sort of assessment that you belong to this category. So there may be people that who might like always there might be some people who are like satisfied with what they are. But as a person, like we want to be more than just one thing, no?
Yeah. So that is why I'm making you aware so that you can consciously flex.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And play different roles when you need to. But be aware that these are the different kinds of creativity types that you can exhibit. If you're not even aware, you will not know when to flex.
Exactly.
And as we discussed even in the beginning of the session, flexibility is one of the key axes of boosting creativity. So these are different dimensions in which you can flex. Ritik?
Yes, sir. My question was, these 8 types, are these an exhaustive list?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
See, you also do some research. Huh?
Yeah.
So what do? There is a very complex problem. What do? To manage complexity, you say, okay, I will put them in these bins.
Yeah.
The researchers could have defined 10 more bins. It would have been complexity they were unable to handle. So they defined 8.
Okay.
That is why I'm saying don't get attached to these labels, but just be aware that there are different assessment tools and that there are different kinds of people, and that you will need support from different kinds of creative people, that you should value differences, that you should, for creative people, see, creativity, if you realize it or not, I'm not sure, but it's like synergy. You bring two people together and they create something very beautiful. That is synergy. 1 plus 1 is not equal to 2. 1 plus 1 could be 11, could be 1001, could be anything. That is what is creativity. And that can happen only when you accept and value other people's differences. That is the only attempt that I'm trying to do by exposing you to these assessments. There are all kinds of people and they're all creative. Each one of us is creative. You just need to know what type you are. You just need to know, on let us say this kind of axis, which is your strength and which is your weakness. And then use tools which can take care of your weaknesses. Any further questions? So again, those of you who have not done these assessments, I would strongly recommend that you do them just to get the hang of it. Okay. And again, let me reinforce that we express creative with our own style. And also that creativity is a talent that can be taught. If I'm not very good on handling paradoxes, I can learn how to use the contradiction matrix and fill that gap. Another thing, all of us are naturally creative, but it may not come easily to all of us. Many times we need discomfort to think creatively. Many times we need risk and pressure. Oh, I have this activity has to be finished within 2 days. You remember that Nina story of when she went to work? What was the problem there? That all those nuts and bolts had to be polished within 24 hours. And it was difficult for them. So that was the pressure. Oh, there's a pressure of time. It has to be completed within this time. And that was where the creative idea came. So all of us are creative. At times, we have not just triggered ourselves in the right way. And the tools that we will learn in this course, we already saw trigger session, we already saw 65 session. We will look at many more tools, and we will look at many structured tools also to go step by step. So we will, the tools that we are looking at this course will actually help us become more creative, become more inventive. So this is another interesting thing. When asked about where do companies get ideas for their new products or innovations from, what this was a survey, the response to the survey. The R&D team, which is actually supposed to come up with all these ideas, generated only 9% of those ideas. Okay, let me add specialists also there. R&D plus specialists, only 20% of ideas came from that group. Majority of the ideas came from customer support or market intelligence. Let us add competitors also to this. So 50% of ideas actually come from what others are doing or what my customers are asking about in terms of need. Then the remaining employees who are not experts or specialists yet or who are not in the R&D team, they come up with a whooping 30% of ideas, which again is much more than what R&D team or expert groups could come up with. And these are not just ideas, these are innovations. So these are ideas that worked. Ideas that worked. So 50% of it was from competitors, customers, suppliers, or market intelligence. 30% from regular employees and 20% from specialists, experts, or R&D. So whether you are able to join an R&D team right away after your graduation or not, doesn't matter. You still can be a major source of idea generation for the company. or you anyways can be that wherever you are. Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we will look at one important what do you say, term which we call as value. What do you mean by value? What do you mean by value? Okay, let me give you a hint. What do you mean by value?
So maybe ROI.
Yeah. So it is something like how many functions is something performing and what is the cost of that. So something is performing a lot of functions but at a very low cost. You say ROI is very high. You say value is very high.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So for any, so when we say that a lot of ideas were coming from customers or competition or market intelligence, why was that the case? Because they were looking at value. Customer needs a function and I have to somehow provide it in minimum cost. And therefore there could be ideas or product features that you may want to add which would come across in this entire zone. So where do you really want to be? Which quadrant of these do you want to be in?
The first one.
Upper left.
Top left, upper left.
Top left quadrant, so that you offer many functions but at low cost. So these are very, very high value ideas. And where do you simply want to avoid?
Bottom right.
Bottom right, because they are costly things but they do not offer much functionality. So let us understand this concept first. This is very important because whatever product or process or system that you would want to work with or innovate on, there will be many components in those things. And you can simply list down those components and identify the value that these components bring. And then you can say, oh, this particular set of components or this particular set of functions are not worth it. Or, for example, if there is something which is over here, you would say, see, this set of functions that this particular component is providing, can I assign this function to one of these low cost materials, low cost components? This particular, can I assign it to somewhere here? Or if not there, even here, because this component is performing lots of value. What do you do for these components which are up here in the top right corner? What do you do for this component, for example? What would you want to do?
Them to the left.
Try to reduce their cost.
Yes, you would want to see how to reduce the cost so that it somehow comes there. You may want to change the material, you may want to change the size, but still get the same functionality. Again, some of the functionality you may give to some other stuff. And then we will look at this technical contradiction matrix. You may realize that, oh, this component is so costly because I asked for a particular quality. Now let me use some inventive principles and say, okay, I can use a lower quality component and this component cost comes here. But I may need to add another component which could be like this, somewhere here. The overall cost of the system may reduce. Okay. Or I may say that, okay, this component does the remaining part of the quality. So some existing component, I add more function to it. Overall, I have reduced the overall cost of the system. Are you able to see this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So it is important to understand what is the value that different components will bring in. When we will do trimming, this concept will become very handy. But even before that, even when you do not know trimming, realize that this concept is there, and then we will do many ideation methods, techniques we will use. Probably in the next class, we will use something called as feature transfer, where we will try to assign functions of one thing to another component that already exists and see what happens. Okay. So when we talk of value, let me also bring to you another concept which is called as, so okay, this is our target quadrant. Functionality can be improved, so things from here can be brought up there by possibly taking functions of that place and doing that. And these parts have to be trimmed, they have to be removed. Again, their functions need to be assigned to something else. Okay,